on, y'all? Steve Holmes here. You are joining me for another episode of The Real. Thank y'all for tuning in tonight. Got a lot to cover. It has been a bit of a crazy, I guess, week in the Bethune-Cookman, in the BCU verse, I guess is probably a good way to call it. Um, we've got the protests, we've got the presidential search. Um, that is still going on. We've got the board stuff that's happening, and I'm having a glitchy issue again with my feed, but I'm gonna power through it. All right. Let's go ahead and jump right in. Thank you for joining me again. Um, Listen, last week was for those of you that joined me. Um, I think what what stood out to me the most about last week, the actual show, was that I actually got my first three contributors: E.H. Tucker, Chantel Pelzy, and Shanique Gilbert. And I want to take the first moments of this show to give them, like, again, a round of applause and a major thank you. Um, Listen, in order to do what I'm doing tonight, it takes some technology, it takes some equipment. And so I've been trying to, like, with each week, trying to, like, improve incrementally. And so for me, um, I had issues with the internet last week, and it dropped a couple of times. And so I went and purchased, with the contributions from the show, this little link, this little TP link thing, and that has helped me. I figured out, and I still got some glitchy issues, but I think I know why that is, and I think I made a mistake on my settings. And then I was able to get this Stream Deck thing, which is really cool, and that was because people who watched the show last week, who have supported the show, thought it not robbery to support it financially, and I'm grateful for that. Listen, I have the Cash App up there, so if you guys choose to um, contribute, cool. If not, no big deal. That's not what I'm here to do. Um, I'm here to talk Bethune-Cookman, and before we get into that, I'm gonna, let people trickle in as they may. Um, I am. Give me one second. I'm going to cover a few, like, housekeeping things. So first, um, the Metro Atlanta had their social on Friday. I tuned into that. That was really cool. Let me say something, man. There's a lot of alumni that I don't know that are here in Atlanta, and I think last week proved there's a lot going on here. And it was so good to be around some of the older alumni who I've seen around, and as well as the new uh the kiddos, the new wave. And so it was good being in the number for that, and it was good to just, again, be at a place where people are, I think, all have a common goal to uplift the institution. And then that got me to thinking. I know there are other chapters that are trying to ramp up and that are trying to, like, do their thing. And so if you need for the Av to help you all amplify, I don't want you all to think because I'm in Atlanta that I'll only amplify Atlanta stuff. No, if you have the chapter and you guys are trying to, like, um do whatever, like, as long as it's, worth. I don't want to do church announcements, every week for all the chapters, but big events, big meetings, let me know, and I'll make sure to mention it on the show or mention it on our channels. And yeah, that'll be good. All right, so you all are here because of the stuff that has been going on with the institution. And I have taken the last week and I have stewed on this. And I have, like, I don't think you all realize how aggravated I was for so many reasons. I would bet that some of you all were like the same way as well. But I was like so bothered by what happened last week. And I'm like, how can we get to a point where everybody, at least the alumni and the students, are playing from the same playbook? And right now we're not. And that's dangerous because we can't be fractured. And the alumni were once students. So we know everything that you guys are going through. And then the students, you will soon become alumni. So I think you'll understand where we are once you get on this side. And so we've got to like work together. We've got to work together. Um, but the reason I really wanted to do this show, and I called it Power Struggle for a reason, is because that's exactly what's happening right now. It's a pissing match with the people up at the top in the school, and not everybody. It's just a few players. And so I think what's important is we take a step back and we go back down memory lane and we look at like how we got here. And so what I like to do is go through how we got to this point. Back in 2017, if you all remember, Edison Jackson was the outgoing president, and the dorm deal was like the bane of our existence, right? That began a domino effect of really a downfall of the institution. All of everything that's happening today started back 2015, 2016, 2017. And so you have to understand to understand what's happening today, you got to go back to that time period and work your way through the years, and then you can probably understand what's happening a little bit better. Earlier, before I made this before I started the show, I went and I made not a reel but story on Instagram, and making sure that some of the students can join tonight, because I think it's important that they know, um that they understand the history, and that what they're going through, there's nothing new or unique about the situation that's happening today. This is an ongoing thing. All right. So again, 2017, Edison Jackson leaves because in shame because of the dorm deal. It was 85 million that we spent to get the dorms built, and in 30 years we would have paid like 300 and something $1 million. It was highway robbery. And I understand about interest and amortization rates, but that was a terrible deal. And somehow it made it through the board, and they started building, and once that problem became unearthed, it just, again, it set off Oscar says a ripple effect. Yes, a ripple effect. Um, and so something to note about that time was, over the NAA, I believe you had Ray Brinson and I think Robert Delaney. I think were a part of the NAA around that time. And I don't think my dates um are fully fleshed out, but what I know is that at some point during that period, we had seats on the board, the alumni, and the alumni around that time, for whatever reason, decided to remove the alumni seats off of the board. Now, what's crazy is we've got 9 voting members on our board now. Back then, back in 2017, in pre-dorm, there was like 31 members on our board. We had like the president, you had 3 vice presidents. I mean, it was a very robust group of professionals running the school. And now we've kind of dwindled it down to 9. And then you've got the ex officio positions and seats. Um, However, uh, that was how we were set up back then, right? So President Grimes is hired to take over Edison Jackson. He's gone. Grimes is in, right? 2018 comes and we get put on probation, right? Now, we don't get put on academic probation. We get put on probation because of our financial lack of financial acuity. And I think I had it written down. Um, I had my notes. It was, oh, I got it right here. Excuse me. It was, excuse me. Get my notes. The reason we got put on probation in 2018 was integrity, board characteristics, financial resources, financial responsibility, and control of finances. Now, we essentially, Sachs told us, y'all messing with the money. Like, this is not how this is supposed to be working. Clean up your act, right? So, couple things happened around 2018. Basically, they downgraded our credit. If you guys remember that, it was all over the news that I think we had like AAA credit or something like that. And then once the dorm stuff got unearthed, our credit rating got downgraded, and we were at like, I don't know what it was, like B or C, or I don't know. It was bad. And so when you have a bad credit rating, you all know no different than with business than it is with individuals. You can't leverage debt to do anything. You can't borrow money. You can't, people don't want to touch you. So that's what happened to us. But also during this time, we had a person by the name of Michelle Carter Scott, who was the chairman of the board at the time. Now, I know y'all remember that name because if you remember, and to the students that are watching, she was a board chair that um that they protested essentially because once everything came to light about the dorm deal, we were like, yo, like, and then there was some other stuff about scholarships with Michelle Carter Scott, some unsavory things that was happening, and it all came to a head, and they protested. Now, this is the first protest, right? This was 2018. And what's funny about that is you'll notice that Belvin Perry's on the board at this time, and I think he's like a second or third vice chair. And this is up until this point, you hadn't really heard from him. You hadn't seen him. You really didn't, the board was kind of operating in a little bit of a off in the cut. And so what happens is you start to hear Belvin Perry be a little bit more forceful about Michelle Carter Scott and getting her removed. And I quote, Perry, and this is from a news article I don't have up, but it said Perry accuses Carter Scott of being a shadow president. I'm going to read that again. Belvin Perry accuses Carter Scott of being a shadow president. Now, if you're an alumni, and you see that, you're kind of itching right now, okay? But let's keep going. 2019, guess what happens? The kids fight, and guess what happens? Michelle Carter Scott, she leaves the board. But who takes over? Belvin Perry. 2019 enters Belvin Perry. All right. So now we are doing our thing. We're in the middle of our probation. Probation was supposed to be for 1 year. We were supposed to be on probation for 1 year, and then they were going to review the probation after um, the first year. And this is Belvin Perry. He comes in, right? And we do our first presidential search. All right. Which everything is going good. Everything is going good. Well, good in the sense that I think we thought we had gotten to the root of the issues. But we have our first presidential search, but now you've got another protest. The National Alumni Association protest the board for much of the same reasons that Michelle Carter Scott was getting protested. People weren't happy with what was happening with the school, and then they protested because of I think I think it was because of the seats being removed from the board, and I don't know if somebody that was around that time can confirm that, but just know that again to the students, pay attention. This is not the first time that these protests have happened over essentially the same stuff we're dealing with today. All right. But guess what happens? Guess what happens? We find a president. They do a presidential search and we find a president, and not just a president, we actually find a good guy. President Cricht. 2019 enters President Cricht, and he comes in the middle of right around this is right around before the pandemic. Just that's kind of that sweet spot because I remember the homecoming in 2019. And I remember saying, wow, like things are okay. Things are not going to be so bad. Things felt okay. And then 2020 happens. 2020 comes. And guess what? Well, Belvin Perry and Dr. Cricht and a few others actually navigate us out of our financial crisis because we were literally this close from being shut down. And I just want y'all to just stay with me. I'm going somewhere. So what happens now is you've got Perry, you've got the board, Dr. Cricht, and then you have a lady by the name of Karen Bearden, who are essentially like they're doing the work that needs to be done. Who is Karen Bearden? I'm glad you asked. Now, let me say this. I don't know Karen Bearden, never met Karen Bearden. I'm sure she's a fine individual. However, however, Karen Bearden was the Board of Regents chair at Kentucky State University back in 2017. The board basically filed, I don't know if they filed suit or maybe she filed a suit against the board. And I believe the board had accused her of improperly influencing a presidential search. Let me just say that again, just in case the people are not paying attention here. Karen Bearden, and maybe I need to, she is the current executive vice or chief executive officer of innovation or executive vice president of innovation, some big fancy title. Now, again, I don't know her. I don't know if what they accused her of is accurate or is true, or if it was just an accusation. But I just want you to hear what it was that she essentially got herself pulled off of that board because they thought she was improperly influencing a presidential search. I'm not saying that she's doing that here at Bethune-Cookman. I just want you to know who the people are who are running our institution. All right? Okay. Let's keep going. All is not bad in 2020, right? All is not bad. Cried and Berry and Bearden, and I give them credit. Let me say this. I know some of this stuff sounds kind of whatever, but I'm gonna give them credit. We can be mad at them. Two things can be true. We can be angry at how they've run the school, especially over the past few years. Like that's fair. And we can also call BS or excuse me, or we can also applaud them for the things that they've done in the past, like our financial situation greatly improved under Belvin Perry. That's true. Under Bearden, that's true. Dr. Cricht, that's true. Like they all elevated the school back to at least a decent financial status. I will not take that away from them. They did that, right? But again, two things can be true. We got 17 million in funds from 17 million in recurring funds from the Florida state budget. All this happened in 2020. So things at this point, guess what? We are off probation. We got recurring funds. Like all of these things, everything is quiet. And this is 2020. This is pandemic year. So put that in context. And then 2021 happens. Now I'm going to say something. I'm going to stay here for a second. 2021 is if you want to point to a moment in time where Bethune-Cookman really started to disassociate itself from itself, it was in 2021. There was a mass exodus of top talent, of influence in 2021. If you don't believe me, just keep watching. In 2021, now mind you, Dr. Cricht, we hired him in 2019. He helped right the ship in 2020, but something strange happened. He quit and didn't even tell the school, didn't tell the board until like a week or two afterwards. Now you have to ask yourself, why would a president of an institution, in a normal job, if you know you're leaving to take another position, what are you going to do? You got, your backfill, yo man, I got a new job, but let me take this next 6 months. Let me onboard you. Let me make sure there's a smooth handoff with the position, whatever, the next coming president. Let's try to, make things smooth. Dr. Cricht was so ready to leave Bethune-Cookman that he couldn't even tell us he was leaving. You know why? Because he knew somebody was going to try to talk him in the stand because of how good his track record was turning out to be. And he's just like, I'm out. And I don't want nobody talking me in the stand. And you got to ask yourself, why is that? Now, who's the board chair at this time? Belvin Perry. Belvin Perry's running the show, y'all. Remember, he entered the scene at 20 in 2019. Belvin Perry enters the scene. So now you got your first interim with Grimes, and then you hire Dr. Cricht. Dr. Cricht leaves, so now we're on presidential search number 2, the part 1, right? So now, after Cricht resigns, the National Alumni Association basically gives the board a no confidence vote. They're like, how did you lose this guy? Like this is the guy who we thought was going to lead us into the next chapter of this esteemed institution, and you ran him off. And what's funny is it's on YouTube. I don't have it pulled up, but they called it a hostage video. Dr. Cricht, when he left, he had this farewell video up on YouTube, and he basically was saying, addressing the speculation about issues with the board. And I'm like, you made a video. You're leaving. You don't have to make a video to tell us that you didn't have issues with the board, because now you're basically telling us you got issues with the board, right? And he's just like, yeah, we did some good things and that and this. It was a hostage video when you watch it. And if you go back and see, it's on YouTube. I wish I should have pulled it up, but it was bad business. All right. Let's keep going. So we lose Dr. Cricht. There's a board of a Perry and the board receive a vote of no confidence. And now you hear the issues between Belvin Perry and Dr. Cricht in the background, and they were clashing, that he couldn't run things like he wanted to because Belvin Perry was trying to do whatever. But here's where if you're a wildcat, where you're gonna look back at this and be like, wow. Not only did we lose Dr. Cricht, we also lost Lynn Thompson in 2021. You know who else we lost in 2021? Ryan Ritter, which is the basketball coach. You know who else we lost in 2021? Vanessa Blair Lewis. 3, 4 very influential and powerful people at the time just out of nowhere. They're gone. Gone. Lynn Thompson, I don't know if we'll ever recover from his loss. That he was the greatest AD, and not just the MEAC, but in all of HBCU. He made our program and our brand seem, him and Mr. Wells made our school seem so much bigger than it really is. The brand is humongous. When those two were locked in, Wells and Lynn Thompson, we were like on top of the world, man. But somehow, I'm not saying that Belvin Perry and the board ran him off. I'm just saying this all happened in the same year where there's smoke, right? But the biggest nail in the coffin in 2021, the biggest one, was the board disassociated itself with the National Alumni Association. And that, my friends, was the point of no return. That's when I realized that somebody is trying to dismantle the heartbeat of the institution, or some people, or some whatever. I realized it then. And when I look back over it now, I'm like, yo, this is wild. And I got my notes and everything, and it's like, it's amazing to see it, how it's all played out, right? But we're not done. We're not done, y'all. So they disassociate themselves with the National Alumni Association, which to me, pardon my French, was the biggest load of bullshit that in all of my years of being around this school that I've ever seen. And I'll tell you why. I didn't have an issue with them wanting to go to a DSO model. I had no issue with that. My issue was not them wanting to like go over to a different operating apparatus with the institution. That I'm okay. I'm okay with that. It was how they did it. They literally cut the Alumni Association off cold. Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune founded that organization, and they cut it or flicked it off like it was a scab or a fly, like it was nothing. And then had the nerve to act like it was us, like it was the alumni. And that's almost unforgivable, right? But we you know what I'm saying, like we can't, like we got to figure out a way to get past that. But that was almost as unforgivable of a moment as there was in this whole thing. The alumni are literally the biggest marketing, free marketing tool of any institution, not just Bethune-Cookman University. And you spit in their face, told them, you know, you guys got to come over here and do it this way. You could have done it a million different ways, and you chose the shittiest way to cut them off. Don't get it. Don't get it. All right. We in 2022, right? 2021 happens. A lot of talent walks out of the door. It's Dr. Powell's turn to come and try to see if he can salvage something. Let me say something. I know Dr. Powell personally. I haven't talked to him about any of this, but I was in the Jazz Combo. He was the chair and the advisor to the Jazz Combo at the time. So he and I have had a close relationship. I haven't talked to him in some years. I'm just want y'all to know. Y'all might see a picture of us or something and be like, oh, he is, you know, Dr. Powell podcast. No, I'm just telling you what I know. And to be honest, Dr. Powell's time was kind of quiet. The biggest thing that happened was not only did you disassociate yourselves with um the alumni association, but they took it a step further. They sued us. They sued us. The college that graduated, all of the people who are supporting your school and raising money, they raised like 1.3 million or something like that during the statuary fund time. They sued them. And you want to know what the messed up part? I wanted to say the other word, but I didn't say it two curse words tonight, so I'm done. I'm at my wife told me I couldn't curse too much. You know what's messed up about it? They had a suit that was that they had against Edison Jackson and the dorm deal and all of this stuff. They dropped that suit and then they immediately filed a suit against the alumni. Now, whatever legalese and reasons for them to do that, I don't know. But the optics of that told me all I needed to know. Told me all I needed to know. That is there are some people in this institution that want to divide and fracture and conquer, to say the least, like the institution, just so they can feel good about themselves. I know I'm getting there, y'all. I'm getting there. There's a payoff here. So that happens, and Dr. Powell does a year. He does a year. Rumor has it he was gonna do a second year, but they didn't invite him back to renew his contract to be interim again. And he didn't know it until I think somebody told him. So they did him dirty on the way out. And so, like, all of these things are happening now. It's just so much griminess happening with the board and the leadership of the school, and nobody knows what. Alumni are pissed off. We're in litigation with the school. The school's spending money. They're spending money, y'all, to sue its alumni. That is the dumbest thing I have ever heard in my life. The school is spending a lot of money to sue its alumni. Are you kidding me? All right. I'm getting worked up, y'all. 2023. All right. Powell's out. And then we get another interim. So now we're on our third interim and one full-time president. Grimes, Cricht, um, Powell, and now Drake. So now we're on like 4 presidents in like 5 years. Drake comes back. He's the 6th president in 6 years. And this is now the 3rd full year without a president. And then whatever happened with him, he does a year, doesn't really get anything done. He's just sitting there holding serve for whoever. And they start the presidential search, the second official one. So this is where I think the students, this is where I think they start paying attention. This is what 2023. So this is just 2 years ago. So now the students are kind of seeing some things, and now they are they're being shaped in a way. They don't know the history. They don't know what was happening in the background with the alumni association and being sued and the fallout of the dorm deal. They're coming in kind of fresh in 2023. Remember, we were fresh off the pandemic. So they're coming in just not knowing a whole lot. Well, Perry hires, I think, another law firm in 2023 to go after the alumni, to keep going after. They cease and desisted them. They said they were trademark infringing because they used Dr. Bethune's face in the logo, and we're calling it the Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune Alumni Association. And they were saying that the organization had no association with the school. I mean, it was just some real grimy stuff, man. Like, really grimy stuff. And so we start presidential search number 2, and then enter William Berry. After all the things that have happened, we end on William Berry. Now, mind you, this is in I think in shortly, I'm trying to make sure I have my dates right. In like June, I think of 2023, he gets hired. I think somebody might want to verify that. Um, but remember, they started the second search in April of 2023. Now, let's go ahead and let's get to the goodies. Now, if you uh-oh, mute. If you all remember, back in October, Belvin Perry has this letter, right? He has this letter, and I think it's so poorly done, and I'll explain a couple reasons why. But let's just go through it, right? Remember, y'all, William Berry is now the president, and he came midway, I think, through 2023, April 2023, based on this letter. In April, they did the first version of this search where they had 120 prospects. All right. They had 28 nominations. And of those prospects, 10 candidates were presented to the committee for consideration. All right. That was the first one. I guess they didn't find anything out of this 120 people. They didn't find who they wanted. So they did another one. They opened it back up in September of 2023. All right. They had another 75 unique prospects and 13 additional nominations. Um, and then that resulted in 5 additional candidates. So now we've got 15 candidates for the role by February 2024. That means that they found 15 people who they thought were worthy enough to get in front of the board and be considered, because it says here on this first bullet point, of those prospects, 10 candidates were presented to the committee for consideration. So that means these 10 people were good enough to have a meeting, and we're going to talk about these 10 candidates. And then they did it again in September and got 5 more. Now here's where it just gets stupid. Here's where it gets stupid. I want y'all to pay attention. Now, in this first bullet, and I covered this in a video on Instagram, but if you go through that letter, it comes to this bullet and it says, despite Dr. Berry's late entry into the process, his candidacy did not negatively impact the search. I'm going to ask the same question I asked the last time. Why the hell did that sentence even happen? Right? Like we didn't need to know that his candidacy did not negatively impact the search. And if we're being honest, it did, because he probably had no business entering into that search late. So here's what is really just crazy is that you mean to tell me 16 months, 16 months, you hire a search firm, you spent all this money, you interview all these people, you get all of these candidates to hire the guy who's been at the school for 2-3 years already? Somebody in the comments, just tell me, does that make sense? You didn't have to if you, you didn't have to have a search if you were going to end up on Barry anyways. You could have just did the whole charade and just right. But you know what happened? The board members, not named Belvin Perry, were like, nah. And let me say this: I got nothing against William Berry, nothing at all. I don't know him, haven't spoken 2 words to him, and it's like I I got no issue with the brother. I just don't think he's the guy to lead Bethune Cookman into the next frontier. I just don't think that. And that is my personal opinion. Now, other people, the kids may feel differently, and they may, because they've been around him. All I'm gonna say is I don't think that's the guy. And that's just my opinion. Now, the board voted twice against him. They voted back in November or October, right after homecoming, and then they voted again essentially last week. It wasn't a vote for him, but essentially it was. And so the board has spoken. They voted, they used their voice, and I know the kids are like feeling a way about it, and I get it. Kids, I support y'all. I got y'all back. I just think you're wrong on this one. I think you're very, very wrong on this one. Um, and so something happened, last week. We had that leads us to last week, right? They're getting ready to vote on a new chair and the new vice chair. I don't know if they were doing any other things, and the kids end up protesting. Now, maybe one of the students will DM me after the show and tell me I'm wrong, or tell me that's not true, or maybe they'll tell me yes, it is true. But I got this on good authority that a lot of it was orchestrated last week, that the kids were riled up, and they had been kind of feeding them some stuff about certain board members, and they used the students to pit the students up against the other board members and tried to essentially, y'all, I'm gonna just come out and say it. Belvin Perry tried to coup us last week. He attempted a coup on the board. I was I asked the Lord before I started to give me the words so that I don't say nothing crazy. But when you look at what happened last week, our former chair tried to hold on to power. No other way to explain it. You got the kids upset. They're down there yelling, and they're yelling at the wrong people. And last week I went on live and I said that I love what they were doing. I love that they're protesting, but that they were just a little misinformed. And I got some kickback from the students, and they're saying, well, why do you say that? Well, if you've been watching tonight, I hope you see what's been happening. Everything that's happened up to this point, there's one constant through all of this, and it is Belvin Perry. I'm not saying he's the ringleader. I'm just saying where there's smoke, right? And then we get after the protests and stuff on Thursday or Friday. Friday, you see reports that he resigned, right? Well, let's hold on. Let's see this.
I am sorry that this board failed you. At this time, I will relinquish the podium to the new chair of the board, Trustee Gamble, and take my seat in the rear.
Thank you, Chair.
I'm not the chair. The board wanted to go into a new direction, which I consider to be a direction which is anti-student, anti-faculty. The students are quite upset because of the fact that this board, for no objective reasons, rejected the recommendation of the search committee. Two search firms of Dr. William Berry to be the next president, who had support of students, faculty, and a large group of alumni.
Wait,
I
what did he say? Hold up. Hold up.
and a large group of alumni.
Wait, a large group of what? Hold up.
A large group of alumni.
Oh wait, one last time. I just want to make sure I heard it right.
and a large group of alumni.
Belvin Perry, you are full of it. You are absolutely full of it. There is not one alumni. I can't find one. And I'm not saying I speak for all the alumni. Nobody was in support of William Berry but the students, generally speaking. Generally speaking. You've tried to force you, you tried to force William Berry on everybody. And like I don't understand how people are not seeing this. Um do I got my screens right? Yeah, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. Um so there's a young man, where's he at? He's in here, Benjamin. Um Listen, man, let me say this to you all. I'm not going to say that you guys were fed anything. But what I will say is that, and I got this on good authority. You guys, there should have been no way that you all were able to make it into a board meeting. There in no way should that have even been possible. But what I know is that somebody told the security guards that if the students show up, let them in. So you may not be directly implicit or complicit, right? But you're indirectly complicit in being used by people. Y'all had no business being in the middle of this fight. And like I told y'all on Friday, this is not the students' fault. So alumni, leave the students alone. If it's this is not their fault. They were put up to this by whomever. And so yeah, that just frustrates me to no end, understanding and knowing like what has been happening with the kids. And they're in the middle and they don't need to be. We shouldn't be seeing Belvin Perry on campus all the time. Like we just shouldn't be seeing that. And so again, all of it, is kind of a moot point now. But let me say this. Let me. This was back in also. Y'all remember I was talking about 2021. Let me put y'all on this screen. It was written by I think Charles Cherry, and let me read this. This was an article that said it's time for BCU's board chair to walk away. This was in 2021, 4 years ago. Never enough, but even Crite bending the knee obviously isn't enough for Perry, who exhibits all the symptoms of a sociopathic narcissism similar to that of Donald Trump. How else can one explain Perry's continuing and consistent grandiose sense of self-importance? This the same guy, Belvin Perry, who was trying to crown Miss BCU at the coronation, right? He's all up in the videos, right? His need for constant praise, admiration, and credit for shared achievements, his willingness to manipulate his fellow trustees and multiple levels of BCU stakeholders without guilt or shame to do his bidding, and his bombastic public disparagement of people who disagree with him. Y'all, the call was coming from inside the house the whole time. Benjamin, listen, my brother, and every other student that is watching this, I want y'all to know something. We have sat where you have sat. The battle that we are fighting right now, or have been fighting up until last week, is not new. This is not new. This is an old fight. It just got a new color and a new coat of paint on it. But it's the same fight. But this time, we have a leader who was willing to throw you guys out on the front line and fight for some BS and give you all false information about Devin Gibbons, Jeffrey Branch, Pete Gamble. It was character assassination. And I hate that you all were even put in that position. So I'm not going to blame you. I'm going to blame the people that put you in that position. It's not fair. And so I wanted to take some time tonight to lay out what has happened. And you can disagree with me, you can agree with me. That's allowed. I don't, we all have a horse in this battle. Um, and I think we all want the same way. We're just all going about it differently. But one thing that can't happen, and let me say this, one thing that can't happen is students and alumni, we cannot be separated. Like, we cannot be pitted against each other. That's not going to work because we need each other. This past homecoming, what happened? We sent a bunch of alumni uh to Daytona, and we put a challenge out to make sure that they connected with y'all, and they was putting money in y'all pockets and buying y'all lunch and Starbucks and food and giving y'all groceries. Like, we love y'all just for who y'all are. Other people love y'all for what y'all can do for their careers and their aspirations and their goals. And that's not cool. Y'all not here for that. Y'all here to learn how to be good humans, smart, intelligent, young, black, and brown, young adults, and go out there and be great and depart, enter the serve and depart the. How you say? I'm sorry, y'all. I'm all flustered. Enter to learn, depart to serve. Jesus. But I just, I hope I was able to enlighten even a few people tonight. And there's so many things that are wrong and that have been wrong that can be corrected right now. I wasn't going to do this, but after reading through this stuff and talking, I'm going to say this. I know um some of the students are going to disagree with this, but Belvin Perry, do us a favor and just step away from the board. I applaud you for your time with helping fix our finances. You and your team did a wonderful job. You helped us get out of the green, out of the red into the black. I applaud you. I applaud you. But I think your time with our institution should come to an end. Gracefully, walk away, man. Just leave, do your thing, go sail off, go retire, go sit on the beach somewhere, go up to the school up north because we know you're on the board up there too. But just get away from our school. That'll make me feel better. You know what I'm saying? That's it. So listen, y'all. I know that was a lot. Let's look at these. Let's look at these comments because y'all in here going crazy. Let's see. Of course, of course, we're a big family. We're a big family. We were a big family before Belvin came into our house and tore it up, and hopefully now the pieces can be. Listen, y'all don't understand how tight we were, man. Like, we were tight. Bethune Cookman and the alumni and the students, we were literally family. We had our spats and stuff with people, but man, like, step away. Yup, yup. I'm going through some comments. Benjamin Jeremiah, is this the same going to be said about the? Oh, that's a good one. Is the same going to be said about the other board members who serve on the board? Benjamin, a lot of those, some of the board members weren't here through the last decade of mess. And so, in any situation, and this is something that I think you'll learn in business once you graduate and you understand, like the buck always stops with the leader. And last week, remember I said shit flows downhill, right? And so, Belvin Perry, the way he ran this board was indicative with how the school was being, how things were happening. Like, and somebody has to fall on the axe for that, and it's him. The board chair is essentially more powerful than the president because they control the president's job. So the president is the most powerful person, like on physically on the campus, but the board chair, like that's the person. So when things go awry, you don't go wipe out an entire board. You go right to the person who was in charge. And who was that? Belvin Perry. All right. So I hear you, man, but this is not one of those things where it's like you just start clearing house. Now, what I will say is if we have the same issues, recurring issues with the current board members that we've been having, then yes, we'll have to call them to the carpet no differently than we're calling Belvin Perry, right? Belvin Perry has earned this episode tonight. Belvin Perry earned it. He earned every bit of it. And so, what do? Right? So he's gone, he's out. There and this is not the best thing, but they're gonna probably restart the presidential search because number one, William Barry's not he's not gonna be the guy. Like it's not gonna be him. Um and it's just like we got to start over again now. What's crazy though is A&M. They started their presidential search what a month ago or so, or maybe this month. They're probably going to have a president by May, June. They're going to find their person, and we are literally going to be starting over again. That's on Belvin Perry. And if the board feels like the candidate is not a good candidate, you want your board to say, nah, that's what they're there for. The search committee and diversified search group, they don't get to choose the president. What their job is, they're headhunters. They go out, they canvass the nation, they provide a slate of candidates to the school, and the school says we like A, B, and C. Let's bring those in. And but what happened was we had 220 candidates, and then Belvin Perry is just like, we're gonna advance William Berry. That's not how that's supposed to work. That is not how that is supposed to work. So, with all due respect, man, like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like, are we really trying to find a president, or did you want your guy in there because you know you can be a shadow president, which you accused Michelle Carter Scott of being back in 2018? You want Barry in there so you can control him. Come on, man. We see it. We see it. We see it. And I'm calling it out. Um, how was that on Belvin Perry? I don't know. That isn't how that happened. Uh, this is Benjamin Jeremiah again. Yeah. I I don't know what you're referring to, but um fixed our finances. What proof do we have? Well, okay, that's a good one. I can tackle that one. Um so And to be fair, yes, they have been quiet with the finances, generally speaking. But let's also remember, and this again, this is why I know they fixed our finances, is because Sachs took us off probation for our finances. they're not going to do us any favors. Saks has no reason to do us any favors with our money. If it was still messed up, guess what? We would have been on probation, or worse, we would have lost our accreditation because we were on probation for 2 years. It was on one. We were on probation for 1 year, and then the second we got they continued to extended it for another year. And then guess what? We improved our finances, and I only know that because Saks said so, that we made the necessary changes. We had better cash inflows, I think better systems in place. Listen, Belvin Perry, I give him credit. I give him credit there. But that's about where it stops for me, because there are other facets that have to be taken care of, not just worrying about. And to be honest, that's a big deal. But it was too much cattiness, too much drama. We shouldn't be talking about the board of trustees. When I was in school, I never knew who was on the board. I never saw them. They're not supposed to be on campus. They're not supposed to be at the coordination. They're supposed to come in 2 or 3 times a year. They be at the homecoming parade. Everybody walk, march in front of their little thing and wave to them. And we're not really supposed to see the board. They're not teachers. They're not faculty. They're not staff. They should have no consistent presence on the yard. Their job is fiduciary, operational, like all these things. And so the fact that we're hearing that Perry be on the yard and doing stuff, I heard he done been taking kids to dinner. Like what? Come on, man. Come on. So we got to call it out. But he's gone, and I can say this now because I've been treading light for a long time. But I can say it now. Pete Gamble, we're trusting you with the institution now. Jeffrey Branch, we are trusting you with the institution. These are two alumni. So the people who feel a way about them, they are alumni. They love the institution more than Belvin Perry will make you believe he does, right? Belvin Perry just want to be Dr. Bethune 2.0. He want us to write a book and have his own 688 movie or something on Netflix. Nah, bruh. We in that type of party, man. We got one founder, one leader, Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune. All right, y'all. It's been real. I didn't talk myself into some food. I'm hungry. Yeah. So last thing before we go, again, if you want to support the show, there's a little thing up top. The ad at BCU. Again, I don't do it. This is not, when you all support the show, you're helping me to get, again, new equipment to help me be more efficient and have a nice show. I hope y'all like this. And, y'all tell me y'all don't like it, I'll stop. But I thank y'all for doing your thing tonight and in the comments, and they are lit up, and I can't even get to them all. But if y'all want to hit me up, shoot me a DM or something on the app, follow us, all those things, and I think we good. All right. I'm going to eat, y'all. I'm hungry. See y'all next week. Peace. Hey, we talking sports next week. Sports.